This is the third challenge in our HR month series, so we've got a new data set to work with this time, so we can see that actually what's happening when we're reading in our data is that all of the data is actually coming through in just one field. So we can see each row is representing a person who has made an application. We can see the month that they applied, their work experience, how many people they've supervised, if they've got industry experience or not, and also, I said that each row was a candidate. It's actually aggregated to how many candidates fall into that category in that month. Sorry, so that's what those numbers in the brackets mean. So I did try, as I'm sure many of you did, I tried using the data interpreter to see if that would help at all. It didn't. I still got these 3 fields back. So, okay, let's remove those null fields and then let's focus on parsing out that data. So I chose first of all to split based on the commas, so that we split up our application date, work experience, supervised, and industry experience. So that's what I did first of all, and then I split up based on the opening parentheses after that. So I went to split values, custom split, and first of all I went with a comma and split off all of those and returned those. And then from the field, so that brings us to this point here, and I had to get rid of those null rows here, so just excluded those. And then from this field went to split values, custom split, and went on the opening bracket, and again split off all fields, which will get us to this point where we have those 2 additional fields. Clean this field up to remove the parentheses by removing punctuation, and then remove any unnecessary fields there, so that we're left just with these 5 fields. Okay, so then what we have basically is we have these 4 different fields. If we ignore the candidate count, we've got 4 fields where we have our header of that field, and then a colon, and then the value. So industry experience, application date, work experience, and supervised. So how can we get that into a format where we just have that in the title and not in the values? So one way you could do that is that you could again do some more splitting, so that we split out based on the colons and then rename those fields based on say for example industry experience. We would split it on the colon, and then we'd have yes no in a field, and we would just rename that to be industry experience. But that's all quite manual, so what I decided to do was I want to pivot the data and then unpivot it. So in order to do that and to keep the row 42 rows, I need a row number. So I created a row number using this calculation, so ordering by any one of the fields really, but I chose the work experience split 1, which is this one here with the dates in there, and putting a row number on there. It doesn't matter, I just needed a unique number for every single row. And I also changed this candidate count to a numeric type as well in this step. Then I pivoted the data, so any of those application date, industry experience, supervised, and what's the 4th one? I can't see what the 4th one is here for a moment. Work experience, supervised, industry experience, and application date. There you go. So then I'll split this field up in 2 based on the colon. And then I've got my headers here and my values here. And then I can just unpivot it so that I put my headers at the top here, doing a rows to columns pivot, and then just take the max value of the values field. So then I get them all split into their relevant fields. Like I say, that's a very dynamic way to do it. You could definitely have done it the more manual, simpler way. So then I can get rid of the row number. I don't need that anymore. We need to make this application date be a date now, and we want it to be the month ending date. So we just translate it to a date data type up here, and you can see it always defaults to being at the start of the month. Every month has a different number of days in it, so how do we get to the last day of the month? So what I did here is, first of all, I added on a month to my data, so it gets to the 1st of the following month, and then I minused off 1 day from that, so that it will always go back to the last day of the month. So that's the way that I did that, and then I just need to change that to a date data type and remove that initial field so that I have the application month ending date. Okay, now we know that there are some preferred qualifications for these job roles. They want at least 4 years experience, they want them to have supervised at least 10 people, and they prefer you to have industry experience. So, what I did here was probably the lazy way around of doing it. I could have done some if statements, but I decided just to duplicate my work experience field and then just to overwrite certain values here. So for example, I would group this into all into a 0, so they don't have enough work experience, and then all these other fields would be a 1, so they meet that preferred qualification. So when I do that, then I get to this stage where I have 0s and 1s for work experience greater than 4 years. And then I did exactly the same for the supervised field, duplicated it, and then just manually typed in here 0 for the values that were not meeting the requirement, and 1 for the values that were. And I did the same for the industry experience as well, with the yes and the no's, just turning them into 0s and 1s. So then what I did once I had all those 0s and 1 fields is I made a calculation where basically I want to know the minimum of all of those. So if you think about it, in order to meet the preferred qualifications in all 3 categories, they would have to have a 1 in each of those 3 categories. So if I'm taking the minimum, then that's always going to show up if they don't meet any of the qualifications. Otherwise, it's going to return a 1, and we'll know that they've met all the qualifications. So in prep, you have to do, if you're doing a minimum function, you can only have 2 values, so basically I had to nest the minimum. So first we'll do the minimum based on the supervised and the industry experience, and then also add in the work experience after that. Now we're ready to aggregate our data, and we can group by our application month, sum up our candidate count, and sum up our candidates with preferred qualifications. And then all that's left to do is calculate that percentage of total. So percent of candidates, so candidates with preferred qualifications times by 100 divided by the total candidates, and round that to 1 decimal place. And there we go. I think that was a really great, well-rounded challenge. Thanks very much again to Kelly, and hopefully you enjoyed. So thanks for watching.